Hello, everyone, and welcome to today's event. Webinars are enhanced by your participation, so we encourage you to submit your questions throughout the presentation. Please use the Ask a Question button at any time. You may type your questions in there. All answers will be given verbally throughout or at the conclusion of the webinar. If you experience any audio issues during the webinar, please click on the Rate This button on the top of your player window and follow the instructions to receive help. If that does not resolve the issue, please email support@brighttalk.com and a customer support specialist will get back to you shortly. This event will be available on demand just a few minutes after the live event concludes. We invite you to view other upcoming events and on-demand content available in this event channel after the presentation. Today we have three speakers: Pamela Warren, our Cyber Range lead, Ken Alexander, our Security Training Engineer, and Steve Olmstead, our Cyber Range Controller Admin. Today, we're going to kick off with some words from Pamela. Pamela, welcome. Pamela, we're not hearing your audio.
Hi, everyone, and thank you for being here. As Amanda said, we have three of us on the line, and Ken's going to be cueing us off here with the first slide. And what we're going to do is give you a little bit of background on Cyber Range and give you some insights and do a little bit of a deep dive on it once we get to the demo portion so that you can actually see what you may experience in the classroom itself. So Ken is standing by to do that. And then what we'll do is have Steve come on and help us through the demo portion of it. So with that, let's get started. Ken, can you advance? There we go. Okay, so off to the races. So what is a cyber range? Then we'll go into what's behind the curtain, if you will, a little bit more of the details on what actually is happening for us to teach this class, and then give you some insight on when to use it and where to go for more information. So let's go ahead, Ken, with that. So first off, what is a cyber range? There are many different definitions out there, but let us help you understand what we are doing at Palo Alto Networks with our cyber range in particular. So first off, we're focused on security best practices. We want you to leave the class with a fundamental understanding of the very best way to prevent successful cyber attacks. A lot of that is about automation and the processes that you bring to bear and the communication that you have between your teams. And then helping you to focus on what matters, like get rid of a lot of the noise and really hone in on the attacks themselves, any patterns that you might be able to see when all of the automation has done its job, and now you need the skill set of your experts to be able to dive in further. And ultimately, take advantage of, in many cases, the technology that you already have there. So are you using it the very best way possible? So that's the consume innovations quickly portion of it. So all of our classes are really built on those three tenets. So the classes themselves, so what we're giving you is an experiential learning experience. So we don't want to just put PowerPoints up or talk you through this. We really want you to experience it firsthand. So we're going to simulate legitimate as well as the malicious traffic. So you can be looking at a typical network day to day. This is not just simple, we attack you and you defend. And then for each participant, what we do is we pair you up in teams of two. One of you takes the edge of the network and the other takes the interior of the network, if you will, across network segmentation. And I'll show you an example of what the network looks like. But the important thing to understand here too is that as we provide you this training, we're going to take you through successive class levels. So we're going to start you on a very fundamental baseline level 1 class, and then that's your prerequisite for everything else that we offer you today. So we've just gone live with all of our classrooms recently. So we're starting out with a level 1. These will increase in complexity over time, And the other thing to recognize that we're going to decrease it in instruction as well. Some people are ready to, head out the gate without any instruction, any kind of interface from our instructor team. But we're going to take you through that level 1 with some high-level instruction, and then give you also a free play at the end during that level 1. As you progress to a level 2, if you choose to take that, or a level 3, you'll get less instruction. So what are we doing in terms of the learning itself? We're hoping that you walk away with, first off, the ability to detect different attack types. So we're going to give you a diversity of attacks in this level 1 and help you to find that pattern in the noise, and then also walk you through the way to determine the best mitigation approach. Now, I've called out here, optimize availability of your network, but we all know it's also about the confidentiality and the integrity of the information that you have on that network as well. And then you're going to defend that network. You're going to learn how to use automation in particular for this successful attack prevention. And then again, as I mentioned, weed through that noise to focus on what matters. So go ahead, Ken, to the next one. Okay, so now we're going to talk a little bit about what's behind all of the CyberRange classrooms themselves, give you a little bit more insight. So let's look at the roles that we have within the CyberRange environment. So we've got a suite of 5 roles within this environment itself. So red and blue teaming, you're probably already familiar with. So your blue team is really going to be that student in the classroom. They're going to be acting as the IT team, as the NOC team, as the security operations, or if you have a SOC team. You're going to have DevOps teams as well. What we see is a really nice cross-functional experience and cross-functional teaming in these classes. And then, of course, you have our controller, like Steve, who's standing by here for the demo, who's going to be generating that malicious traffic. So he's going to be serving up those single-vector and multi-vector attacks, as well as campaigns when we get into our level 2 classes. So the white team is really someone like Ken. He's going to be your instructor. He's going to generate those scenarios. He's going to be helping you through the classroom and actually monitoring the progress that you're making across the class. The green team is really the range itself. It's going to be providing that legitimate user experience, the legitimate traffic that I talked about, performing the services like the AD or LDAP integration and other, business functions that would be normally going on within your legitimate network. And then there's the yellow team, which again is a student themselves. And these are the people that are just going to click on some of the links that we have that are malicious links that are going to generate some of that malicious traffic, as well as what our red team is producing. So that's the way the roles are set up in our particular classroom. Go ahead, Ken. So this is just a quick look at what our network looks like at a very high level. As I mentioned, we're pairing up students. So each of you will take a part of the network and hopefully work together, communicate the way you hopefully are at work. So, optimally we'd have DevOps working with SecOps, or we'd have, the IT or networking team working with SecOps, and so on. So one of you will take the perimeter and the other will take, as I mentioned, that interior, that internal segmentation view, and you'll be responsible for example, the data center and protecting the wireless LAN on that side of the network. Go ahead, Ken. So what does a typical level 1 class look like? So we're presenting these in about 6 hours for your level 1 classes, and we'll do a series of introductions, and what we're going to do is walk you through what disruption to the enterprise might look like, but the things that you need to be thinking about that could disrupt your enterprise environment, the visibility that you need, the context that you need across applications and content and users themselves. In session 2, we're going to talk more about securing the enterprise or managing that enterprise effectively. And we're going to take you through a series of attacks. And then we're going to talk about protecting the future. So we want you to be set up not just to defend the network against the attacks of today, but what do you need to be thinking about to be resilient and agile to the new attacks of tomorrow. And then at the end, we're going to ask you for a little bit of feedback so we can make sure the quality is what you expect. And then we're going to give you some optional free play at the end. And this is where, gloves off, the instructors stand back, and we just generate malicious traffic and all of the network traffic for you without any assistance. So go ahead and keep going. Okay. So we're going to walk through a little bit of an example of part of this, but I wanted to give you a bit more of a deep dive on what this level 1 class really entails. So as I mentioned, we're going to give you kind of that thinking around what do you know about the content and the users and the applications in your environment? What are you doing in terms of your business processes for the applications that you may or may not want to allow in your environment? What kind of visibility do you have to what's actually running on the environment today? Creating the custom services for your environment, thinking through zero trust. What are you doing with respect to zero trust and bringing that into your network today through network segmentation? And then we're going to do some introduction to rule automation and then start rolling you into the attacks themselves. So that's the flow of the day. So a couple things I want to just tee up here. So there's two parts of the attack scenarios. One is just thinking through blocking known bad. What's out there today? What do we need to be aware of? Some of the best practices, but also now give you that, that direct experience. So what we'll do as part of the demo portion is we'll walk you through a client-to-server vulnerability perspective, and then we'll come back and really walk you through some of those newer, never-before-seen threat examples in that second portion here of the class. So that's the goal of the day, and then for this particular demo, let's give you a few of these examples as if you're in the class yourself, and I'm going to turn this over to our instructor controller team, Ken and Steve, from here.
Thank you very much, Pam, and welcome, ladies and gentlemen. Once again, as Pam had mentioned, my name is Ken Alexander. I am the Cyber Range instructor for North America, and I am joined by my counterpart, Mr. Steve Olmstead, who is the Cyber Range controller for North America. So once again, welcome and thank you for taking time to attend the webinar. Now, before I begin the demonstration, I just want to give you a little background in regards to what Pam had mentioned, is that with the Cyber Range, the purpose behind the Cyber Range is to provide a much more immersive experience in regards to understanding and being able to differentiate meaningful information from the noise, but also to be more proactive as opposed to reactive and have a quicker cycle in regards to detect, decide, and ultimately defend your network. Because once again, this is us versus them. And what Steve and I will be demonstrating for you today are 3 exercises that we particularly enjoy with the Level 1 security best practices of the Cyber Range. The first exercise will be the vulnerabilities and exploits related to clients to a server, meaning a client that has been compromised, trying to exploit a vulnerability on a legitimate server. And then we're going to reverse the operation for the server to the client, a server that has been compromised who is trying to exploit a vulnerability on the client. Then, as Pam had mentioned, we will take a look at the near real-time threat analysis in regards to operating system malware. So this is where we'll take a look at one of my personal favorites. What about the never-seen-before activities that may be out there? So let's jump right in. Now, what we're taking a look at right now, what I will be bringing up on my screen as soon as I log in. Now, what we're looking at, or what we will be looking at in just a moment, we are about midway through the course. So we are looking at the afternoon session. So to begin, we are going to take a look at, or I'd like to walk you through the demonstration regarding the client-to-server vulnerability. Now, to kind of give you a prerequisite, or kind of give you a little bit of an understanding, some of the pre-configurations that have taken place is that under the Policies tab, what I want to point out for you is that in order to assist with the experience, an alert all policy has been created. And the purpose behind this is, once again, to provide visibility to traffic that's traversing the environment. Not really a recommended best practice, but depending upon the understanding of the type of traffic that's traversing your environment, your mileage may vary. But we are using this to help increase the experience in regards to providing application visibility. So this policy has been created. Now, in this case, I am taking a look at, or as one of the examples, we are going into the Objects tab. Now, with the Objects, this is all about visibility. I can't stop what I can't see. So the importance of visibility is that taking a look at the Monitor tab, I want to go ahead and take a look and examine the traffic that is currently traversing my firewall, which I can see right now. But what about threats that may have been identified? Well, right now I don't see any threats, and once again, this is all about visibility. So for the demonstration, we are going to create, or I'm going to create for you, a profile that will allow us to see the vulnerabilities that have been identified. So in order to create a profile, the first step is that by selecting Add, I'll create a profile just to alert me of any and all vulnerabilities that have been seen. I'll just call it VP Vulnerability Profile Alert as an example. So VP. And by doing so, sorry, that was the wrong profile. We need to go to vulnerability protection. So with vulnerability protection, by selecting Add, here, this is where I'll provide the name of VP Alert. And from the VP Alert, I'll go ahead and select Add. It is here that I need to provide a rule name, and I'll just call it simply Alert. And I'm looking for any and all threats that have been identified. The actions that I wish to take place, I do not wish for any actions to take place at this time. Just notify me of what has been identified. And with the severities, well, here I want to see any and all severities from informational all the way up to critical. So I will select the severity check mark of all or any. And by selecting OK, I have created a rule right now to identify any type of vulnerabilities that have been listed. By selecting OK, I now need to go to my policies, and once again, with my policy allowing traffic to traverse, I need to examine the properties of this policy, and under Actions, I'll navigate to my Vulnerability Protection Profile and select my rule that I just created called VP Alert. I'll select OK and commit my operations. Now, during the commit, this is when my proposed configurations will actually be applied to the actual firewall itself. And this is where I will answer any questions that may come up in regards to what we did, in regards to the policy and the profile association configuration. But once the commit has taken place successfully, once again, this is all about visibility. So I'm going to go ahead and click on Close here. And by navigating to my Monitor tab, I want to take a look at my threats. Wow. Now I'm starting to see, and also at the bottom, I'm going to select Highlight Policy Actions. So based upon the rule that I created and the policy that has been associated with this profile, here I can start to see any actions that match the criteria that I have specified. So right now I'm looking at the alerts, all the alerts of high. So I'm looking at everything that is high, which represents that there may be some type of suspicious activity taking place. So how do I automate the process of A, being alerted, but also carrying out an action against this particular compromise or activities that may be taking place? By navigating back to my Objects tab and selecting the rule that I created a moment ago, I'm going to create an additional rule. This rule will actually perform an action based upon high or critical activities that have been identified. So with this rule, I'll just call it high and critical. And with this, I'm looking for any and all threats. The action this time, I want to drop any activities that are taking place that are identified as high and or critical. So stop this. So not only will I receive the alert, but the activity will then be dropped. Once again, by saying OK, I will go ahead and move the profile above my alert. And now that I've made a modification to my profile, I'll go ahead and select OK. And once again, I'll commit my operations to ensure that my configurations have been successfully applied to the firewall appliance. Now, once the commit has taken place, what have I done thus far? Well, this allowed me the opportunity to bring the unknown into the known realm. So what I did not see under threats, now I can actually see the type of activities that are taking place. Right now, I found high events. So now, if I take a look at my Monitor tab, and if I go back into my traffic, notice that right now, by selecting Highlight Policy Actions here, as opposed to Alert, now I can actually see that traffic is being dropped. That is identified as a high severity. Once more, this is allowing me the opportunity that I can be proactive as opposed to reactive, and once again, this is making sense of the noise. So I'm bringing the unknown into the known so I can actually see what's taking place. So now I can actually make the necessary decisions to allow or deny this traffic and possibly perform additional investigations. Now, for my next task that I'd like to go ahead and point out for you, here we're going to take a look at our next operation, which has to do with our server to client that may have been compromised in this particular case.
And so I just want to add in here, as the instructors are going through, they're just getting right down to the basics here of your configurations. But it's not all about the policy configurations and this part of it. We're going to be talking through what is the nature of the attack, what kinds of threats are we seeing that might be of this variety, so that you're hearing from us the very latest insights about this particular threat type. So again, this isn't a class that just sits you through rules and policy automation. This is actually helping you to understand a lot more about the threats. But we're skipping through a lot of this just to give you some of the actions that you're actually going to be taking to mitigate that traffic.
Precisely, and thank you very much, Pam. So once again, this is not kind of the 10,000-foot approach, but hopefully giving you enough of an opportunity to see how you will actually get your hands dirty, and this will not be a strictly PowerPoint or demonstration course. No, you are actually immersed in this particular environment. Now, what I also want to point out for you is that in this particular case, taking a look at my monitor right now, take a look at the name of the application. In the middle portion, we have WordPress cookie, and it's showing me the information regarding where it's coming from going to, but I'm more concerned about the severity. It's a high severity. Now, I have created a rule that will drop any high or critical activities. Once again, this is all about automation and orchestration to leverage a strong security posture in our environment, because once again, if I can't see it, I can act upon it. So in just a moment, we will see some additional traffic traverse the environment. And when we see this additional traffic traverse, we will notice a different severity level come through, but also a different name. And we'll see this here shortly. There's a little bit of a lag time in regards to staging the necessary software or the necessary threat vectors to come through. So in just a moment, we'll see this.
While we're waiting for the commit, Ken, one of the questions came in: how do we confirm if the alert was the rule we created?
I'm sorry, could you repeat that one more time, Pam?
Sure. Going back to the last example, how do we confirm if the alert was the rule that we created?
What we would need to do in this case is that to answer the question, and please make sure that I'm answering the question properly, but what I would do is there's a couple different ways. Number one, I would go ahead and take a look at my object specifically. And this is my humble opinion, that with the alert, to make sure that it's been created properly, that's why I use the example in this case. We're just accepting everything, absolutely everything. I'm just giving it a name. I'm just saying alert me to any severity, any CVE, any vendor ID. You are running the table. You're saying, I don't care if it's informational, low, medium, or high, or critical, show me what's out there. So once this has been created, now you have the opportunity, once you see what is populated, how, or if you so desire, how you can actually reduce the noise, meaning what's informational, what's low, what's medium, and really get to the heart of the matter. Anything that is critical or high, this is what I want to see, and this is what I want to act upon. I hope that answers your question. That was a very good question. So please let me know if that answers your question properly.
I think, this is Steve, I'm going to cut in really quick. I think that we might be, to hone in on that question, look at the magnifying glass next to the alert. That will actually show the rule that we wrote and how it's applied to block that specific threat. So go back to the monitor tab. Yep, that's probably a better way to answer that one.
Yep. Thank you, Steve. So you'll notice
Great.
that we have different ways that we can actually take a look at this operation. So perfect. So right here, your detailed log view, this will provide additional detailed characteristics that you may be interested in. Now for time constraints, notice what happened. That previously I had listed critical and highs, and you notice I received my alerts for highs. I've also acted upon drops, but now we have a new threat vector that has been introduced. I'm totally unaware of this. I really haven't made any changes to my rules to mitigate this particular threat that's coming through, which is identified as the Microsoft scripting engine. By selecting the severities of critical and high, now for any new compromises that have been introduced, notice that it has been defined as a critical, and what did I have to do? Nothing. This is a new vulnerability that has been identified. It's marked as critical based upon my profile. I specify if it's critical to drop it. So the traffic, once again, has been stopped at the gate, but this enables me the opportunity to perform additional forensics as necessary. These are some of the exercises that we run through in kind of a quick cadence, if you will. So I hope you enjoyed the first two exercises. So if everyone's ready, we're going to shift focus to our last demonstration. And with our last demonstration, we will be examining operating system malware ransomware. And this has to do with our near real-time threat analysis. And this is key. The reason why I like to point this out is that how can I stop what I've never seen before? So how can we be proactive as opposed to reactive against something that's unannounced, we've never seen, or we've never imagined? So in order to perform this task, what I'm going to do is I'm going to navigate to my Objects tab. And once again, this is some of the topics that we discussed and that we actually go through in the cyber range. And here I'm going to focus in on antivirus. Now with antivirus, by selecting Add, in my antivirus profile, once again, I'll define a name for this profile to identify new, never seen before. And I will just call it, once again, Actions, AS Actions. And I'm going to change a quick modification. I'm going to go to each one of my decoders. I'm going to change it to an alert because I just want to be notified in this case. So as I'm changing this will take just a moment on an individual one-by-one basis. And as these alerts are being modified, I'm going to receive notifications that something that has not been seen before that is suspicious in nature has been identified. So right now I changed everything to alert to support my near real-time threat analysis. Now once again, I need to select OK, and because the policy allows traffic to traverse, I go back to my policies, and for my alert all, this time, under my actions, I'm going to select the anti-spyware or antivirus. With antivirus, I'll select the antivirus profile that I just created. But in order to support my near real-time threat analysis, I need to go to my analysis page at the bottom and select default. And I'll say OK. Now, once again, visibility is key. This allows us to perform actions upon these particular activities. Now that I've selected my policy, I've added my profile to the policy, I'll commit my operation once again to ensure that my settings have been moved from a proposed state to the running state of the firewall. What I enjoy about this and what people appreciate in the cyber range is, once again, once a commit has taken place, what is interesting is that as I navigate to the Monitor tab, and once again, I've never seen it before. So right now I have a bunch of informational items, objects, or items that are coming through in my traffic tab, but let's take a look at submissions. So with my submissions, and this is supporting my near real-time threat analysis, here I'm taking a look at the file name, where it came from, severity, the verdict, it's malicious. well, I may have never heard of this or seen this before, but my severity is high. So right now, this enables me the opportunity that I can actually look deeper into that threat that has been identified. And why has it been identified? Notice that I have an analysis report that is available to me. It is here that with my analysis report, once again, this is something that may have never been seen before and something brand new. With the analysis summary, this allows me to view the verdict that has been identified that through analysis, this is deemed as malware, but if I need to identify why this may have been deemed as malware, here safely by selecting the View PDF Report, it is here that I can actually view the activities that had taken place through near real-time threat analysis to justify as to why this activity was deemed as malware. So taking a look, I think this is worth its weight in gold because now I can actually see the file information, the verdict that was provided, but also I can drill down deeper and take a look at the behavior summary that had taken place in regards to what did this application, what did this file try to do. So notice here, we have 97 pages of extensive information that helped us or helped determine as to why this application or the software is deemed as malware. And this also enables us the opportunity that we can block or drop any type of object that has been deemed as suspicious in the form of malware. So ladies and gentlemen, I hope you enjoyed the 2 quick exercise demonstrations regarding the Cyber Range, and I will be more than happy to answer any questions upon the completion of the webinar. But at this point, I would like to turn everything back over to Pam. So Pam, if you'd like to take it away from here.
Awesome. Thanks, Ken and Steve. Okay, so just want to follow up on a few quick things, but I do want to mention that this is a webinar about CyberRange itself and the class and what we do within it. But if you have questions about the technology that we use for the Blue Team technology, please feel free to sign up for a free online ultimate test drive. I know I was getting some questions in the question queue for that, and the online UTD that you can sign up for at any time will answer a lot of those questions if you want to do a deeper dive and not necessarily come to a CyberRange class. So that's always available there for you, and just go to our website under events and look for Ultimate Test Drive or UTD. So with that, I just want to talk about how to use a CyberRange and what else you might need to know about it. So I wanted to mention one quick thing about a new Gartner report that came out in March. It's called Boost Resilience and Deliver Digital Dexterity with Cyberranges. So as many of you may know, Gartner talks a lot about digital dexterity and the importance of that in our organizations, especially as we're navigating this whole new technology explosion when we're moving to IoT and so many other things that require our teams to be even more security savvy across a broad brush of technologies across our networks today. So it's interesting to me that they mentioned in the next few years, actually 15% of large enterprises will be using these CyberRanges to develop their skills. And that's up from less than 1% today. So we certainly see it grow in popularity based on the questions that we've been getting. Obviously, CyberRanges aren't the only thing that we do. And so it's just interesting to see the uptick in all of the questions that we're getting from our existing customers, from folks that are not our customers, just so interested in CyberRanges. So I think there's a lot of the ways that you can use the CyberRange, and I'll talk through a few of those. But you may be interested in that report. They interviewed us back around the Christmas timeline for that report. Okay, so when to use it. So, many organizations that we're talking with, whether it's public sector or private sector, are talking about this skills shortage. And what we've seen firsthand is that CyberRanges are a great opportunity to cross-train your existing employees from other career fields. You may not realize it, but many people are very excited about cybersecurity. Many people want to take advantage of it, but they may be hesitant because they don't know that they have the skill sets for it. So as our own example, we had a young lady that was in our facilities team participate in our mock cyber ranges so that we could fill the class to help train our instructors with our own internal employees when we went live with each of our sites. And this young lady, again, was from the facilities organization. And by the time she finished the cyber range, she said, I want to change my career field. So this is just one example. Another example are folks like Steve and his team. So they are help desk support, trained to be controllers, and now are entering into those career fields. So there are many opportunities to reduce the skills shortage and cross-train people that you already have within the company. And then, of course, to train new people coming into your company. But also, you know, reduce kind of some of those blind spots, if you will, because perhaps your teams aren't talking with one another. Perhaps there's not a process that brings together your DevOps, your security ops, your networking ops teams, and others for this shared collective responsibility around security. So we've seen companies fly teams in, even here in Santa Clara, from as far away as Ireland and New Zealand. So it's really interesting as you see the potential here for team building and cross-training across the other functions. So perhaps as networking operations, I've never appreciated what my counterparts did in security operations or vice versa. So great opportunity there. And then the third is really to continue to improve and evolve the skills of the current security practitioners and networking practitioners that you already have. So it's keeping those skills sharp, understanding the very latest threats hitting our environments, and maintaining that experience again with this realistic environment that you can participate in. Go ahead, Ken, with the next one. And so, you know, I just wanted to go through how to find out a bit more information and bring up another area that we get a lot of questions about, and that is do-it-yourself cyber ranges. So first and foremost, where are our classrooms? So we've got 4 dedicated classrooms, 2 in the U.S. on each coast, and then we've got 1 at our Amsterdam facility and 1 in our Sydney, Australia facility that just opened. So Reston, Virginia, as you may know, right outside of the Washington, D.C. area. It's literally minutes from Dulles Airport, so very easy to get in and out of. Naturally, we've got a classroom set up here at our headquarters in Santa Clara. And we have a facility set up at our headquarters in Amsterdam, which was actually our first site to go live. So they've been at it since about November. We've had a great diversity of industries that have come through. We've had team building exercises. We've had exercises all within a particular industry. So, for example, getting a number of universities together, getting a number of hospitals together, perhaps a number of banks together. There are lots of ways that organizations can use the cyber range, and the cost to you is free. So this is a free offering that we're providing. This is just an example of view from our Reston facility. So this is a classroom, and I think Ken is actually in the front of that class. You can barely see him, but that's the classroom there in Reston. Go ahead, Ken, with the rest of the slides there. So who should participate? I think I've already alluded to this previously, but we don't want to exclude anybody or make you think that you've got to be a day-to-day security operator necessarily. We've got a lot of networking teams coming in. We've got firewall admins. We've got DevOps teams that have been participating, security architects. But also the other area that I think is very interesting is having the IT and OT teams working together. That's a really interesting one. We also have, by the way, I'll put a plug in, ICS SCADA hands-on workshops as well that are really helpful for IT and OT teams to come together and really be able to work together and understand each other's perspective on this. So really anyone for cross-functional security training can participate in a cyber range. Go ahead, Ken. Okay. So again, you know, as we were alluding to in the beginning and Ken kind of reiterated, the whole goal here is to help you improve your threat posture, improve your processes, improve your communications, cross-teaming. We're really going to be able to help you prevent successful cyber attacks and focus in on what matters, and maybe even take advantage of that technology you hadn't already been thinking about that you have there within your environment and you can make better use of. When you leave the class, we'll be emailing you an e-certificate that attests to the level of cyber range achievement, which will be even more important if you want to come back and do successive classes, and then you can always use that for your CPEs as well. We'll also be finalizing our what we call cyber enhancement plan that will follow up after the classes. This is something fairly new that we wanted to provide to you as kind of the lessons that we've covered in the cyber range and some best practices resources to assist you post cyber range. You can learn more in the meantime at our website, on our website, paloaltonetworks.com/cyber range, obviously there in front of you. And it'll have a lot of information, including a link to sign up for the classes from there. So go ahead, Ken. One thing that I wanted to mention, only because we've had so many organizations come to us and ask for this, and that is that many of you have large enough organizations that you'd like to stand up your own cyber ranges. Certainly the financial services industry is a perfect example of this, where for many years now they've had their own cyber ranges running very effectively to keep their skills sharp within the teams. Some governments as well, some military organizations have come to us asking for this assistance. Our appliances can provide the security automation as a blue team technology within your own cyber range. We have many customers that have done that exactly as we talked about. That view on the right of the rig includes the network traffic generators that we use that are manufactured by Cyberattack Systems. We use their network traffic generators because they give us the greatest diversity of attacks, and they're constantly updated with the very latest threats. So we don't want to be talking about ransomware that we would have seen in 2017. We want to give you the experience with the very latest threats that we talked about. And then, you know, what we do find is that organizations like these military organizations and some of the commercial ones, there are many reasons why they choose Palo Alto Networks for their blue team technology. And we've rolled that up for you in a solution brief. If you're interested in building one of these yourself, you can download the solution brief, and it goes through some of these points that I've mentioned here with the ease of administration and how quickly your students can stand up and learn to use the technology to get going with the exercises themselves. You don't want to spend, you know, long time getting them familiar with the technology just to be able to participate in the class. So as quickly as possible, get them running with these threats, get them mitigating these threats and seeing how automation can help them, and start thinking through their processes and thinking through the way they communicate across teams on a day-to-day basis. So as I mentioned, you know, if you're interested in building your own, you can certainly go to our website. On that Cyber Range website, there's a do-it-yourself tab where you can learn more. We also have had questions about how you can customize these. And so, Ken, if you could just back up for just a second, I just want to make one other comment here. Many organizations have come to us and said, you know, we love to have a completely customized environment, Cyber Range. And so we don't have that stood up on our website just yet, but what we will do is refer you to our partner who stands these up and can come to your site on site for a week, 2 weeks, and whatnot. They travel all over the world standing these up. They did choose us for their blue team technology many years ago, as I mentioned, for these military exercises, and they've been at it for a while. I mean, the one military exercise is, I think, up to 28 different nations that participate in these. So they're well-versed on standing these up for you. Okay, Ken, sorry, go ahead. I added a new data point he wasn't expecting of me. Okay, so what to do next. So if you're interested in taking a Cyber Range class, there are a couple of different things. The first thing is, if you are a Palo Alto Network customer, you can go to your account representative and you can talk about standing up one of these for a dedicated Cyber Range for your teams. And again, working cross-functionally, we'll look for, you know, a minimum of 3 different teams to come and participate in those at minimum. So we're hoping, again, to improve those processes within your organization, improve those communications. And then the other way is just simply to go to our website and sign up for one of our open classes. So, Ken, if you can just build out the slide there. So all you need to do there is go to the Cyber Range website, as I mentioned, and there is a link to sign up for open classes. And you'll see those for every one of the sites. So you can see what's open in Amsterdam if you happen to be, you know, if you happen to have a team over there in Europe. You can sign up for the ones in Reston or here in headquarters, or, you know, even in Australia if you have a team there. So again, go to the website to learn more about that. So let's keep going past that. I think all that I want to do here is just, you know, just quickly scan some of the questions that you've sent in. I think I mentioned most of them, and if you want to get into the details of the interface, the blue team technology itself, you can go to the Ultimate Test Drive and learn more and go through that experience so that you can have that firsthand experience. Or, optionally, you'd even come to a cyber range and participate in one of our classes. We do have plans to expand over time. Somebody did ask some questions about that, and we'll come back to you when we have announcements about expansion beyond the 4 classrooms, and we're going to be very excited to be able to do that for you because we know there's a lot of interest out there. So those are the questions that I have in the window now. Ken, Steve, any final thoughts from you in terms of anything else you'd like to get across to the participants about the cyber range?
Well, my 2 cents, and once again, this is Ken. And once again, thank you everyone for attending. I'm sure that you will find this by attending one of our cyber ranges. It's very enjoyable, but also everyone leaves with an aha moment. We've received positive feedback, but once again, this is not to identify what you're doing right or wrong. It's once again an opportunity to dig a little bit deeper, to understand what is taking place, the techniques that are being used, but as I mentioned before, to be more proactive as opposed to reactive. And this is also, as Pam had mentioned before, a great opportunity for individuals who may have dabbled in security, or that if you're looking for a way to strengthen your security bench, which in turn can help your security posture. This is a great opportunity to begin that journey, but also to create that dialogue in regards to what we are doing, how can we improve upon this, and just to gain a better understanding and increase that security posture.
Great. Thanks, Ken, and thank you, Kent and Steve, both for doing the demo as part of this. Thank you, everyone, for your participation, and we look forward to seeing you in a classroom very soon.